at 5:02. Let's roll call our members.
Sarah Bullock here.
Jeremy Ebersol here. Matt Abbey here.
Margot Jones here. But that gives us a quorum because it's 4 out of 7. So we're missing Tim and Doug. And we have a vacancy, so. But we need a vacancy filled. All right, well, I'll hear a motion to approve the minutes as circulated by Sarah.
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
So,
Second.
I was gonna say I probably shouldn't vote because I'm like,
all those in favor?
I,
Aye. Approved. Thank you very much, Sarah, for very thorough. Oh my God, that one did.
but that one I had to like sit and I was like,
Your bar is too hot.
only half of the transcript got recorded. There was only, yeah, so I had an audio recording of the first half. And I had a bunch of notes for the first, oh my God, anyway.
Anyway. You know, given that our gentleman friend here has come to like how many meetings and not gotten Alex has been here so many times and didn't get to present. I would like, if with your approval, move his item up to.
yeah, I don't think there's any problems with that.
I don't know, unless he wants to hang out, we're pretty cool.
That's absolutely fascinating. I was on the Conservation Commission for 6 years, 2 years as chair, so.
They've been there, done that.
So,
Well, it's only moving it up one item, so there we go. You're on.
well, so I had been, at one point, trying to solicit a, letter of support from my historical commission. For the, project for removal of the Wiley Weston dams. Previously, there was a sense of urgency because we were putting together a proposal to NOAA for some funding for the dam removals, and it would have been good to have that letter included as a letter of support in the proposal. But that deadline was passed. We submitted the proposal with other letters of support. And we won't hear back from NOAA probably until May or June at least. Because it's a national competition and there's a lot of decision making has to go on where they reach their conclusions. But in the interim, we know that we may not get the funding, in which case we're looking at other sources of funding. Could be some money from DER. There
What's DER?
Department of Ecological Restoration, so that's the state.
State.
And they funded these types of projects a lot in the past. There's other sources of funding out there, but DER is probably our next proposal if we put one together.
What was the first one that we missed doing on? What was it, federal?
Yes, it's the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration.
No.
As part of the bipartisan infrastructure law. They had a lot of money to draw towards infrastructure projects, and they're interested, NOAA is interested in ecological restoration. So things like salt marsh restoration, wetlands, and the Everglades. This was the third round of that chunk of money. And it's the last round, so there will be another solicitation for more proposals after this one. It was important for us to get this one going. And having been involved with the funding last time around, probably almost 10 years ago. We did get a lot of funding from a lot of different sources, the state, federal. And we had letters of support from various groups, but not the Historic Commission. And in the end, the Historic Commission kind of put the kibosh on that project because they didn't want to see the dams removed. which was a great disappointment for us because there was a lot of money already spent towards design and permitting. And we were about ready to go to construction. And then the mayor said, well, I've had a discussion with the historic commission. I've decided not to move the dam. There were a few ruffled feathers after that. But we felt, that we could revisit this again, if there was, another opportunity to do so. And with the new mayor, and with this funding opportunity, we kind of had the perfect storm of, let's try to make a go of it. But I wanted to try to get the historic commission to, be a part of it, in the removal process, as opposed to being on the other side of the table. Because, don't want to have that kind of scenario happen again. So, I felt that, regardless of having a letter of support for this NOAA proposal, it would still be good to have a letter of support in general from the historic commission for the project. We've already received a letter of support from the Conservation Commission. The mayor, of course, supports it. The DPW supports it. We're just trying to get all of the municipality organizations on board and together to support this project so we can move forward without any hiccups in the way. So I've given you guys a presentation about what the project's about. I'm happy to entertain any more questions that you have about that. I know you haven't had a chance really to deliberate about this very much. And now there's no great urgency. So it would be nice if you discussed it and voted on it today, and maybe gave us a letter of support so we have that in hand. But I understand you would like to take more time to discuss this, get more information, etc. That decision.
Well, I'd like to parse this out a little bit.
Yep.
First would be discussion of whether we would not oppose the removal of the dam. And then the second would be if we agree that we're not gonna ask for a demolition delay on this historic structure, then what would our position be? See what I mean? I mean,
Yeah.
one is, are we gonna file, provide obstruction again, or are we gonna
Right.
not, and then if not, are we actually supporting?
Right. I don't think you need to go too far into the process, because if and when we do get funding and the project moves forward, there's gonna have to be some public meetings, some public input, some decision making about what happens, if there's gonna be historical commemoration of the dams and the associated structures that went with them. So I would envision the letters being very generic. And then, you could just state, we're not opposed to removal of the dam. And even at that, don't have to go into demolition delay, decisions on demolition delays or anything at this point. We can cross that bridge when we come to it. Which, even if we get the NOAA funding, we wouldn't even start the project until at least a year from now. So there's time to work on those aspects. But having, a physical letter that says we're on board with this, at least, in concept, goes a long way, for us, for the city, and for any funders that are, that remember 10 years ago, well, didn't you have a problem with the historic commission? And we can show the letter and say, we don't have a problem. That really helps your cause, especially with the state, because they were one of the parties that got burned. And I think that, they appreciate seeing something.
Okay, well, let's discuss the matter. So do you just want to rely on what presentation was before? Is there any other?
Yeah,
information?
unless I think you have a general concept of what the removal is about. Wiley Russell gets completely removed. There's nothing nothing remaining other than, some sort of historical commemoration. And then the next dam up, the Mill Street Dam gets cut down and then build a rock riffle up to the dam crest. That's the proposed project. Anything beyond that, is again, discussion between us. Historical commemoration, how do we want to do that? What would you guys like to see? We can talk about it. Some point, not necessarily now, but it's certainly part of that process. So,
I mean, I think if we say we're not opposed to it, doesn't that imply that we're not going to invoke the motion delay?
That's kind of I had a similar, without weighing in this moment on the question of
Yeah.
whether I personally support or don't support this question of procedure. I think this whole demolition delay process continues to
That's
a little
what we
bit-
have to some
a little bit
committee.
confusing. To me, but as I'm looking at the demolition delay ordinance, if there's a demolition applied for, a demolition permit, this ordinance says any application for a permit involving demolition of a significant building on historic inventory is what creates an application. And then the further definition of significant building includes any building or structure which has been certified by the Mass Historical Commission to meet eligibility requirements for individual listing on the National Register.
So that would include
can-
and structure.
We can, I think, say safely that like a demolition permit this would be a demolition of a significant structure. I'm not 100% clear that if that means that then we have a decision to make before we decide if it goes to a public hearing, but I think that like that
I
would
think
mean
it
that
goes
it
to
goes
a
to a
public
public
Yeah,
hearing.
I think it does.
So it makes, I feel a little bit strange about making a judgment call on something that if a demolition permit was applied for, would need to go to a public hearing to get the public's input.
Well,
on
not
their thought.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to go to public hearing because like, for example, the former Rug Lumber site, like, I mean, when, the previous chair of the commission like went there and said, oh yeah, this place is like too far gone he just made the decision that it was too far gone to do anything with. And that left it at that, even though it probably was
It was
it was
definitely-
historically,
Yeah,
so I mean,
but that
So
doesn't mean that I would put my neck out there and
yeah.
filter it. I think that going forward,
Okay, yeah, so we're
No.
we're gonna change up.
well, either
how we
we
do it.
discuss it as a board,
Mhm.
as a commission, whether we. I don't know,
So
it
if-
seems like we have to.
I mean, it's not like if we decide that we have a position as a commission and then we, by ordinance, are required to hold a public hearing where the public is weighing in to try to convince us whether or not to issue a demolition delay or not, by us making a decision early, are we making moot any?
Yeah.
And I don't know, I'm not saying, that is one reading of this. I don't know if it's the right reading because it's convoluted language.
Can you read the part again?
I mean, it's the problem is they don't lay out exactly what the process is, they just give a whole bunch of definitions. In the ordinance. So this is in 41 one of the,
241-2 definitions.
yeah, so the definition of an application for a permit involving demolition defined in this chapter is significant building on historic inventory. Every application includes the address, owner's name, da, 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 da. So the important piece there is of a significant building. So what is a significant building? It says a significant building. There's 4 different things that can make a significant building. One of those is any building or structure which has been certified by the Mass Historical Commission to be eligible for listing on the National Register. And then it says in the preferably preserved significant buildings section, a preferably preserved significant building is any significant building which the Greenfield Historical Commission determines after a public hearing is in the public interest to be preserved or rehabilitated rather than demolished.
As determined is in the public interest.
And then,
That's our go.
It also talks about structures that are of geographic importance. If
Yeah, well, and that's the thing, it's like, is the dam as it stands, is it historic? Is it considered historic just because there's been a dam on that site since 16 something? Is this current dam historic? That's kind of the question.
Oh, it's in the inventory. It's on the state inventory, number something or other.
Yeah, well, it is historic.
It is
Does it
historic.
have integrity? Like, would it be preferably reserved? That's the
Yeah, because
question
I
for
mean,
debate.
yeah, because from my limited understanding of the ordinance, like we can identify a building, a structure, a rock, whatever so may be as, you know, having this, you know, significance, and still not actually involve the demolition of the building. So I think
Right.
maybe, I'm thinking maybe Alex's ask here is like, you know, I think in general is just, are we gonna like, are we outright opposing the removal of the dams, I think is what he's trying to gauge right now.
But I agree with Jeremy, if we take a position. But then you have a public hearing and there's. Outcry.
Oh, yeah, and that.
Well, we could
That's-
say, no, we're not opposed now, and then pending public outcry, be like, when they change their mind, they kind of, that's something that I think is in our,
We shouldn't change our mind
No,
after, I don't think.
well, do we have a hearing about whether we feel a certain way? Like, that's, you know what I mean, like, that's.
This procedure doesn't allow for actions until we're right in the thick of the threats, which is not ideal. And I'm seeing, so this section,
I mean, further. If a year from now, I'll know if we have funding. You will know if we got that, we've also applied for a grant, I'm saying the city has applied for a National Park Service technical help. For helping to restore the river. And helping to beautify the river and make it a part of our city more than it is. So. If there's some plans that come up then. That are very compelling, I mean. I think that. That it is a judgment call and you can't make the judgment before. Further down the road. Without short circuiting it. I hate to say it, I mean.
yeah, looking at the ordinance here, I mean, it does lay out procedure. I think there's some questions, but it says on the day of the receipt of an application of a listed significant building, this is the question, well, it's a significant building, is it what do they mean by listed? This is, significant, but they use this word listed, which implies that it would be listed on a register. So listed significant building is usually a different definition of significant building. So anyway, if you receive a demolition, then we shall hold a public hearing within 45 days, give the public notice. And then if after such a hearing, we determine that the demolition would not be detrimental, then the demolition can go forward. But it seems like, assuming that this is what is considered a listed significant building, it's something we have to have a public hearing, but that's I don't know if that one word, because it's not a listed significant building, but it is a
It
significant.
is a listed building,
It is.
a property. Yeah. Do you want me to get you the number?
Well, by listed, do they mean listed in the macros? Or?
Yeah, in there. I had it in my.
Yes, I mean, regardless, I don't know that it's a perfect system, but if it is the system, I don't know how we can make a judgment. Because we'd be effectively erasing
Endorsing them.
we'd be erasing the public's opportunity to have a say in our position on it if we.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
The process, as I understand it.
I think that's fair. And I think in light of that, kind of what I'm looking for here is just something on paper
Of what the process would be.
that, yeah.
Yeah.
So I
Okay,
What I can do is send you a copy of the letter that we received from the Conservation Commission. And if the project goes forward, we will have to go through a permanent reporting process with the Conservation Commission. With respect to Wetlands Protection Act and 401 permitting and the whole business. Nonetheless, they wrote us a letter saying, we support this because we think it's good environmentally for the river system, etc. Which was nice. We didn't really ask them for it, but they gave it to us and we appreciate it. So maybe all the letter has to say is that the Historical Commission, recognizes the project. They don't outright oppose it. But they would want to be engaged in the process of, incorporating the Historic Commission, all the permitting and whatever, other public hearing processes as they have. So you're not making a commitment, just saying, yeah, we support the dam removal and, no public input. That would not be good. But you are saying we're engaged. And that's kind of what didn't happen last time. Because the Historic Commission came back to us and say, well, you didn't involve us in any of the preliminary, discussions about what would happen, with the removals. So I think they felt pretty left out. So what we're doing here is we're basically documenting that we're not leaving you out of the process. It's on paper, and if anybody comes around later and says, well, you didn't involve us in the initial discussions. Well, we can't really say that because here's the piece of paper that says you were. That's kind of what I'm looking for, because I don't think you can go much farther than that. Until we have a plan, until a permit application is applied for, and we go through the public hearing. So.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I'm on board with that, just saying something like, we've been, duly informed ahead of time. And how I see it happening is probably we'll have some sort of public hearing, right? I mean, the ordinance does say like we shall have a public hearing. So, and I think the best thing for us to do is just kind of garner public input, on whether or not they, whether or not residents feel like, the removal of the dams would be detrimental to culture of the town. I mean, that's kind of where I stand on that.
It should be a public decision, yeah.
And so. 'cause
Well,
I-
it should involve
Right, exactly, like,
more information and public.
Right.
Right, yeah, so that's all, you just kind of want to procedure.
But a letter in conceptual support, if you will, that we recognize this is going on, we don't oppose it outright, for whatever reason, but you need to go through the process. And I think that would be a good start. And like I say, it could be a year from now, before we even start talking about this again, but in the interim, if we apply for more funding, having that letter, basically says to funders, everybody's on board.
Well, or it says to funders that this, that. They're warned, the funders are warned ahead of time that, the Historic Commission could still say like, depending on what happens at the public hearing. At least they have that sort of heads up.
And
anyways.
a lot of these grants basically mandate that you have to have a hearing. They mandate you have to have historical review of what you're doing. I think that's part of the NOAA proposal. So yes, that's going to happen. There's no way around it.
Yeah, that's a good point. So with NOAA, this is a separate process, but NOAA is that's federal money. Because that's federal money. This property, assuming section 106 still exists in the future, given there is a federally mandated preservation process where anytime there's federal money, there would need to be section 106 consultation with interested parties, which would be us. Or if anytime there's any possibility of the removal of a building that could be listed on the National Register, which is sort of determined. So there would be a process where we would have the opportunity to weigh in on things like mitigation and signage and those types of things. There. Yeah. Yeah, I feel comfortable with letter that says
Where,
we don't oppose this.
we're aware of the project and we'll work with the CRC to find the best solution. I mean, like, leave it as vague as that.
That's even be over in the line of what,
Is it? Yeah.
it's tricky. How about I
Draft the letter, yeah, yeah.
One page reflects
Yeah.
our role in the whole thing and what steps will happen and then that's that. And am I allowed to send it out?
Well,
Just send it to us and we'll look at it. We need to discuss it at the next meeting or?
yeah, we could be like, oh, this is my suggested revision, blah, 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 pending discussion at the next meeting. We don't have to make it official until the.
Do we
April
vote,
thing.
we vote, rate it and vote on it at the next?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
Other than that, it's just like.
But you don't have any deadlines then to your.
There are no deadlines at this point, so we have time. And, you know, you guys stay, as long as you want to get
Yeah.
something that you're really comfortable with. Then we'll have, it, in our back pocket, so. And if there's some need for more information from us, clarification, or, one of these other projects starts moving with respect to the river itself, and, you know, there's some dovetailing in with the dams projects, and, you know, me or the folks from CFC would be having intentionally.
Okay.
Discuss them.
Can I just ask you a question, like? The condition of the dam. I read somewhere. Is poor. And there are holes in it, I mean, I know there are holes in the Mill Street dam,
Yes,
But-
well,
that
the,
are doing it.
Yeah.
They did, I believe.
Oh, okay.
yeah, the Wiley Russell, and it was in my presentation, I can't remember the numbers exactly, but the Wiley Russell, basically was a timber crib dam that had sort of this concrete sarcophagus built around it, to reinforce it in the thirties, because it was starting to fall apart. And now, if you go and look at the dam, you can't see it right now because it's a little winter, but at very low flows, and I took some pictures of this, that are in that presentation. The timber cribbing is gone, most of it's gone, all of the rock work between the cribbing is
Oh.
gone. So
Oh.
just the concrete shell is there. So
Uh-oh.
there's really not much of the original structure left. There's some pieces, you know, and some interesting iron, you know, rods and things like that, that were part of the original structure that could be preserved. But structurally, it's in poor condition, in which case, an engineering firm says, well, it's not the greatest shape. If you look at the abutments, they're leaking, they have problems, erosions, whatever, so.
What are
So,
the abutments? I mean, I know the dam is like this 90-degree.
yeah, so that's where the dam comes into the bank. Where stonework, there was a headworks for the GTD plan. And then there was another, mill site on the other side that had a sluice way. And there's water pouring through both of those at this point.
So,
The town got an estimate for just repair to bring it back into compliance with the state, not restoration. As the original dam, but just repair the leaking abutments and whatever else. And that was over $1 million.
well, I thought it was half a mil.
Well, it was somewhere between like half and a
Yeah.
million, depending on their 900,000, something like that. So, so that was just for the repairs. To do a restoration, to restore it back to, you know, with the original timber cribbing and stonework and the rest, would be a lot more. So that's why the city has decided, well, it's probably better if we just get rid of it, because then we don't have the expense maintaining it, the liabilities associated with having a dam there. So that's Wild Russ. The Mill Street, like you said,
Yeah.
it has similar erosion problems. Had a big hole underneath it that had to be plugged. And there are other problems that they're not immediate emergencies, but over time it will become emergencies and the town will have to again find funds to repair them. And, again, with the, um, the, the partial removal, lowering the dam, rock ram below it, all that goes away. There's no maintenance after that. It's basically a restored, so.
If you did nothing one way or the other,
It's coming out, other if the water.
Maybe it'll fall apart.
Pushes, right, exactly.
That'll make any lack of maintenance.
Yeah, the question is when.
Yeah.
It could be tomorrow, it could be 20 years from now, nobody knows. But I think DPW is concerned enough about it that, you know, it doesn't pay to just ignore it anymore, because it could incur great expense if there were, you know, a real emergency, dam breach, you know, for like the Mill Street Dam, that's gonna expose the utility crossings upstream.
yeah,
And that's a real problem. Now you're talking about an emergency
right.
repair. And-
Gladly Russell, there would be, nobody,
no, not so much. There are other, you know, things that could happen there, but it's what's called a low hazard dam. which
yeah,
Doesn't mean that it's in, you know, it's about to fail, but it means that if it does fail, that there's enough infrastructure above, upstream or downstream that would, you know, be impacted, like houses downstream that could get flooded. That would be like a high hazard dam. So if
Right.
it were to fail, but it's low
there's a
hazard.
sluice way,
Yes.
this concrete bunker that the water feeds into, so.
But, you know, it's the kind of thing that, you know, nobody wants to really see happen. And I think
Yeah,
the DPW would rather see it taken care of now than wait for an emergency or disaster later.
do you know of any small dam removal where they did a partial removal?
There are a few. I think one is Amethyst Brook down in Amherst,
Yeah,
where they kept a portion of the dam, very small portion. It's a small dam.
uh-huh,
But they kept part of the rock work up on one bank. So
you
you can
can
actually
see what was.
yeah, you can see what was there.
Yeah.
We actually pitched that about 6 years ago, again, when we tried to start this process again. I came back to the historic commission and I said, well, I know you guys don't support a full removal, but what about a partial?
Mhm.
Where you keep part of the dam, say out from one bank, maybe 20 feet out, and keep that part intact. And at that point, they said, no, we don't.
Cause then it just like sticks up,
Yes,
because
and well,
everything goes around it.
it sticks up and structurally it's very difficult to maintain. You have to reinforce the heck out of it. Because
Yeah,
there's wood
it's-
around it
Right,
and there's erosion problems. So it can be done, but it's expensive and, you know, again, if you're interested in restoring it to the original timber crib, that costs a lot more too. So, it can be done, but our solution, at least in our proposal to NOAA, basically said.
Yeah.
get rid of
no,
it.
and so on. But then maybe you would consider showing how cribbing works
Yep.
in the past,
Yep.
some historic demonstration.
I just want to make sure you folks had everything you need.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you.
Where are the Cokes? Where? Got any snacks? No.
You do. There should be some sodas in there and there's some snacks around the corner in there. Anything else, let us know.
Thank you.
You.
Take care.
Yeah, do.
So, you asked if, what could be done, you know, to either recreate the dam. And I think in my presentation, there was, you know, an idea to rebuild it in the dry.
Yeah.
You could go back to the old plans of the timber crib dam
Mhm.
and build a section of it on the bank in the dry as an educational tool. Say, this is how this thing was built back when. Very interesting, I think. Rebuild it. You might not be able to rebuild it out of the original materials because they're pretty too far gone.
Yeah,
But it's 12 by 10, um. Pieces of wood that are all
Wow.
bolted together.
Oh, it's pretty
I think the
good.
plans are in there, at least for the original structure. It costs money, but again, there'd be opportunities to get grants to fund that sort of thing.
But that's not in the NOAA grant.
There is some money within the NOAA grant. We apportioned some money to do, some degree of historical commemoration, just sort of some starter that we view would be used to say as match for another grant that they would get.
Wow.
If somebody said, well, this thing's what we want to do, you guys want, it's gonna cost a lot more than what's in the NOAA grant. Fine, let's another grant to build it. But that's part of what you guys have to discuss is what you want. You've already told us that you don't want a plaque, and we understand. I don't think that that's enough either. But what it is, that should be discussed.
See.
I probably should get a time.
Okay, all right, well, I think we have our marching orders. I'll come up with a draft. While it's here. Oh, excellent.
Okay, so just keep me in the loop. If you're gonna, as we vote on it next month, they'll probably come back next meeting. It's really no problem. I live just down the street, so it's.
Yeah, I'll keep doing that.
Yeah,
The ongoing consultation and
Yep.
presentations and certainly I appreciate the involvement.
And if anybody has any questions, you've got my email. Just
right.
Also glad that the project is even still being considered, but we didn't talk about it. I was a little concerned with everything going on about like grant issuing with everything. And I think it's important that organizations like the CRC get to still, we need to kind of act like we deserve to take up the space at asking for funding and like doing the things that we continue to do. It's a good habit. It's a good, a good way to persist in what are becoming highly uncertain futures,
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you
Yeah.
very much, Alex. Okay, so that was item number 1. I never found, which historic inventory swarm it is, right?
Here, hold on, my.
Probably,
I looked for it. It's not listed under Wiley or Russell.
it's there. I'll find it for you. Did you try historic?
That was gonna make.
They're filtering things, but if you look for, monuments, I think the resource type,
Oh, I looked for structure. That's probably why.
it is a structure. Yeah. Park Street overpass. You didn't find it under structure?
Ooh.
For the necklace.
Yeah. Mill Street Dam. So that's what it is. Wiley and Russell Ridge.
Maybe it's something we can do offline.
Yes, we can. Yeah. It's there. I know it's there.
It's paid by the hour. Not right now.
Okay, so next item is Sarah. CPC.
Item. An entire item. So.
Yep.
That's all it is work. I got all this, I had it under my desk at work, I've been digitizing everything, but, so the CPC, we had our informal public hearing about the applications on the 27th. And the public survey ended on the 3rd. I don't know who didn't fill out a form or anybody like that, shame. Also, I can't see names on the phone. Oh, God, did you not fill out?
Okay, good.
I can't see.
Thanks for singling me out.
Good as new.
I don't think Tim did either, but I feel like,
Eh,
most of the public support that we got for the historical project was good. I did all the comments, and I'm helping them, categorize all their data, and about 75% of the time, comments were in favor for historical preservation projects, which is good. So, our informal like our, inputting the results into the system, also was due on the 3rd. And so I'm gonna try and help with Travis from the Conservation Commission to pull all the numbers together, and we meet again on the 13th, which is next Thursday, to discuss the results of the bomb, basically, and like actually get to deliberating and talking about how money is gonna be spent. So I don't wanna be like, oh yeah, it looks really good, but I can say that some of the projects that were asked for as far as the historical category was very high. Like the CRC, sorry, Alex, they wanted like $48,000. And the library only wanted 7.
Right.
So when it comes to something like that, I'm fully anticipating, the library to be more likely to get full funding and the CRC to be a little bit less. But it's hard to say. The hard part is that there's so many other kinds of projects. And I obviously will do my best to support for the historic stuff. But it remains open for the deliberation, and hopefully with everything going on, the support seems to be really positive and the ball is gonna be moving, and hopefully it'll be quick and we can actually see full numbers coming out pretty quickly.
Great.
So it's keep going ahead.
But the public hearing, it sounded like from what I read in the paper, talk about housing making.
Well, the thing is that we have 11, there were 12, but one of them backed out. So we have 11 total applications, and only 3 of them were for historic. And 3 of them were for, 3 of them were also for, recreation, and 2 of them were for pickleball, so we kind of got all lumped together. So by and large, yes, housing was the largest category and seeks the most amount of funding.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where we're gonna have to bump into each other, and I think historical is more worthy than housing, and you get all this complicated, what's worth spending money in this current time, and is the old stuff worth saving, and the active discussion will be had. And I can certainly send everybody, updates as to what's being talked about, but I don't know about how the other members feel, but the public seems to support about 75% of the time. I actually did the numbers that I math. At least partially funding some, like the fairgrounds, because they're, they have money, the CRC has money, the fairgrounds has money, they bring money in. The library, because it's so small, there was a lot of discussion about how it's a small amount of money for a large, potentially very large return. That's something that's gonna have to get discussed. Should we fund fully the library, or, some of the comments were like, oh, we've already given the library so much money, they have a new facility, do they really need the $7,000 right now? And it's not for me to really speculate, these are just the comments that were made available at the time. And so I'm hoping, the report is verbatim, but if somebody fights me about the library, I'm gonna get up on the table with my computer and smack them. So, but that's just because I personally think that the library, really is a potential good for everyone long term.
Right.
But if it comes down to it, do I think it's more of a good than, the rental assistance fund? It's hard to say. So I'm really hoping actually that the discussion is gonna be, very diverse. That's really what I want. And I will take to that meeting any comments that the historical commission has. But
Well, we've already formally supported the library
yes, Yep.
project and the CRC money, I mean, the
Right.
CRC project. Did the county fair come to us?
yes, that,
Okay, we did.
yes, yep,
Okay.
yeah, that was the whitewashing. That Jeremy helped with.
Providing resources.
Barn.
Barn restoration, they wanna paint
Okay.
the last year's was the roof, the roundhouse, I believe. And this year was the repainting of the animal warrants.
Oh, okay. Anyway, we've already expressed it.
Yes, so but I mean, in addition to the full support of, in addition to the full support that we've already issued, any additional more detailed comments other than that, it's just kind of like, I know that the historical commission supports everything, but now that it's come down to it, I also have to make a judgment call. Based on the value of how much we have and what is being asked, so. I can't just sit there and be like, I'm on the historical commission, I'm gonna only support that. That's the thing, and so if anybody has more information they'd like me to take to those meetings. This is the time,
Okay, yeah, so you guys are just like in the stage where you're trying to fairly divvy up the money.
basically, yeah, so we've got the informal public hearing was the last data point to come next, essentially. So now we submitted all of the data. Christian is going to do his magic and present it in graphs for me. And me and Travis are gonna work on the verbal comments that can't be easily categorized in a nice weekly chart. So, and then on Thursday, we're gonna meet, see the damage, and then we get to start deliberating on what happens. To be fair, this is my first go around with the CPC. I'm not entirely sure how the deliberation will go, but I expect we see the damage, we start talking.
And it probably won't be one night.
I hope not. I sure hope not. But we also have a snow day at the end of March. So, which we didn't use, so we'll probably have 2 meetings in March for that, so.
Okay, good. Well, keep us posted and we'll keep you posted. I think we don't want to make public comments right now.
No, you can make it as citizens though too, and like, but if it's within respect that, other than the official support letter from the historical commission, then yeah, that would be the time, but.
Yeah.
Just, FYI, anybody who wants me to know anything has to say no.
And preservation, like, it's mandated that each area of funding receives a certain percentage.
10%.
We have.
So we get 20,000,
Yeah.
right? Isn't it like only 200,000?
I think it's like 248.
Okay.
Because there was an extra 20,000 that they had saved. And we are also it's also within the purview of the CPC not to allocate all the money at all.
Okay, yeah.
Ending, oh, we want to save this because we know there's a big project coming down the road next year and they're gonna need it. There's all kinds of things we can,
Whoa.
I know, right?
Whoa.
But that's the thing, it's like, this is a very open discussion. And the impression that I get is that it's been being built from the ground through experience. Because the discussion, the first year is vastly different to the discussion that's happening this third year. Because trial and error, we know we have better questions to ask.
Yeah.
So the process is continuing to be refined.
Cool. Great. All right. Next item, mayor's proposed restoration of historic stagecoach. Where you able to find out?
I found a really promising place. So this company is called, tiny logo, my tiny computer. It is called B.R. Howard Conservation. And I don't know if we've heard about the Barry or the Barry Historical Society recently.
Yeah.
They also have a Concord coach. And you'll never guess who did the restoration on their Concord coach.
Howard.
So these guys are, they're a women's business enterprise certified business.
Cool.
They operate out of Pennsylvania and they have a special setup to come out and pick the coach up, bring it back to Pennsylvania, and then hold it for ransom until it's done. I mean, do a good job.
Yeah.
So I haven't contacted them directly yet. I was gonna reach out to the Barry Historical Society first and kind of how much would they cost? How, what were they these people? And but they have an email and they look really good. I've looked at their portfolio pretty extensively. And it doesn't sound like it won't be expensive, but I can't say for sure. Just based on John's estimate that it was cost, hundreds of thousands of dollars. It depends on how bad the coach is, and also these people are coming from Pennsylvania to look at it if they do.
And I think too, it depends on like what level of restoration you go for. Like, I mean, you can, kind of like do a weekend at Bernie's thing and, like just make it so it doesn't cave in on itself. It might not be an actual functional as a stagecoach, but good enough as a display piece.
Well, that's a good question. We probably need to. Anyway, why don't you take the next step?
Well, what I was thinking about doing was actually inviting them to have a video chat maybe on one of our next meetings so that we could ask them
Oh.
questions directly.
I would rather,
Just kind of call them and get an estimate.
yeah,
Delegate.
delegate. Yeah.
Oh, put it on me.
Everything.
Yeah, well, I can just send me their information. I'll get in touch with.
Actually, that's not a bad idea, because you never store alone.
Yeah.
You here.
You know, before you know it, that stagecoach is gonna be in my driveway. Right next to the table, so.
It's already right across the street.
Yeah, so, yeah, but yeah, send me the information and I'll reach out to Barry and, Barry Historical
VR.
and VR Howard. Yeah.
I mean, John says that a fresh gust of wind, things go blow apart, so it's wood and leather.
Yeah, and it depends on how, how it was treated and how it's been.
Yeah, it looked pretty cool.
And, and maybe, I don't know, I wonder if I could just like call the DPW and say, have them come down someday and look at it.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah, no, yeah, maybe just get eyes on it,
We might not even need them to come up to us. We could probably just take a video, like have somebody like live on the phone and like, hey, this is what it looks like. Hey, oh, can you look under the carriage? Yeah, I can. It's not
Yeah.
under there.
Yeah,
Because that will save us the cost of like boarding and like plane tickets and like getting them here alone is a cost, that's
well, they might do
maybe.
part of the bid process, but anyways,
Yes.
it's delegated to you
So,
two.
so just, send me the information, I'll make phone calls and rate emails and stuff.
Wonder.
Maybe Historical Society is just pulling off the lid on everything. But yeah,
The next interesting item is the demolition request that we voted on at the last meeting for the schoolhouse number 7, district number 7, is not going forward because the hazardous materials removal bids were downly high.
was it the 67,000 or higher? Or
I opened it up. I can't remember. It was more than that.
God,
I know. You could build. Anyway, now we have a plan to go see it next Thursday
at
at
2:00,
2
I believe.
Right.
Who's
Oh,
gonna be
I
there?
did not know that, I can maybe make myself available.
Could you?
Yeah, I'd like to go actually get eyes on that. That's
That'd be
the
great.
best thing is actually just like looking at it. It's like, you can't tell from the pictures,
No.
right?
I mean, you can walk around it, but getting inside.
Yeah, just actually like assessing it and well, and also like, giving just like a non-expert opinion of like, like if the bids for hazardous materials removal is like astoundingly high and you go in there and you're like, what are they talking about? It might
Yeah.
actually like,
Apparently there's
you know,
something bad about the foundation on the
Yeah.
outside all around. Mike was this is the worst.
Is vaguely renting sounding like some kind of
yeah,
working?
I think the best thing is just get eyes on it. So Thursday at 2:00.
You can't make it?
I will change, yeah, whatever, I got vacation time to work.
Great,
I'll-
great.
I'll make the time for it.
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna meet with this one and then I was like, oh, he was CPC meeting, but then not. So I took that, so I took the time. I'm leaving work at noon to make it happen. So I'm gonna walk it on. And you guys will go get some lunch.
And unfortunately, Jeremy can't.
Yeah, there's a small chance that I'd be able to potentially come back and rearrange things, but unlikely. So maybe, and I'd love to, but it's, hard to get back.
Yeah. Well, I think. They'll find out if it does have some fabric that's really, Structurally, this.
Yeah, I've seen the outside, I've been there and around the outside.
Yeah, nothing scary about that.
Yeah.
It's been neglected heavily. Anyway,
If I can, I will, if not, I trust.
Yeah, and then usually, and
Neglect.
so, yeah, and I wanted to bring that up. I recall we mentioned it at the last meeting about like the town identifying the historic properties that it owns. and-
we're doing that at 3:00.
3:00.
Okay, all right, perfect, yeah, because that's, again, like the Wiley Russell thing, town property. Alex says it's falling apart, schoolhouse. It's fallen, Recreation Commission says it's falling apart. There seems to be a trend here that everything that, Stagecoach, town owns it, it's falling apart. There seems to be a trend here that everything the town owns, they just let,
DPW building.
yeah.
Is that building?
Yeah.
What? No.
Oh, it's a beautiful.
We should go in and look at this station. I want
Oh,
to, I want to the exact.
Yeah, I always thought it was cool.
Yeah, have you seen it? It's,
Not inside, but it's
Oh.
cool looking from the outside.
it's real, I have pictures, I could.
Well,
post you some.
This is the one by that bridge where you can go get your sand, like that big old brick next to your house?
that's,
it's
the DP.
No, no,
No, it's on Riddell Street, it's across from the hospital, it's down in the.
Oh, that's the old, oh, that's not the DPW, that's the old,
But
mills.
it's where they stay at the store.
They store stuff there, yeah, they got the school buses and GSET.
Yeah, yeah,
So, yeah, so that's the old F.E. Wells
right.
building, which was also eventually became part of GTD.
Oh, is
Yeah.
that,
Or
what,
GTD,
it's not wanting to see about making it to a museum?
Yeah, I think that was.
Uh-huh.
where is it? I don't know this. building. I was thinking
It's no, yeah, the one on L Street is the DPW building, but, this is next to, where Brown Motors used to be. That's right next to their garage on
Not
between Beacon and
28.
L Street.
which building is the stagecoach in?
I thought it was in the DPW. Was it in the building on Riddell Street?
You know,
And
I don't know.
I'll find out.
Right.
Cool. Yeah.
We did the bas relief restoration in that building, and it was so cool because it's day-lit. So
This one. Mistaken.
it's where they were stored and then they were fixed right there.
No.
Yeah, great.
all right. What's our next agenda?
What's our next, I know, good, Matt, you wanna be,
He's a good talker.
I'm trying to find the floor.
I've noticed our meeting's getting very
I know.
long.
We don't wanna do that. Okay, new business, proposed demolition. I haven't been asked, oh, the one that, I was asked to approve was the, air building on Bergston Road.
Oh, the indoor action
Indoor
sport.
action.
Yeah,
It was already on the ground.
yeah. That came down a while ago. That was a couple
Yeah.
of years ago, I think.
Oh,
Anyway, it's gone and it wasn't restored. Yeah. Okay, potential news commissioner, I haven't heard anything about that. Review of the two subcommittees' work. Well, we're meeting with Eric next Thursday.
Yep.
So, and I have not heard from Mark, so if he's going to be there.
Is it,
I will try harder to get him there. But if we can get Eric totally on the loop,
yeah,
then, which I think we probably are, anyway. We'll learn something. We'll get Aaron's request done, which is to list all the city-owned buildings that are in the inventory.
the hard
Actually, I'm
part,
not sure how we're gonna do.
well, the hard part is getting it to become an action item in a system that's already, everyone, municipality works like a snail. It's already very slow. So the hard part, even if we assemble a database or even just a list, would be to key in early I have to check the list. And that's kind of something that really is out of our hands.
Eric has a grip on this already.
He probably does.
Yeah. Cause he has a listing of all the historic properties that the latest consultant did. Got put into a town database mapping system. So those will be able to access, but it's the other backwards ones.
Yeah.
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 But I'm optimistic myself. Okay, and demolition delay ordinance updates.
We haven't met yet. Well, I was hoping to talk to you about that.
Yeah, I think this is where next Tuesday is the
Yeah,
potential.
and if you are available at other times, I can be available.
Yeah.
Because I know you have
Yeah, we'll
It's a
see what we
little
can schedule.
people.
Okay, so you're.
Yeah, so we are, yeah, it's on our, yeah, my hope is to, I've created like a document that we can use that I need to share.
You did share me
I did.
the drive.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I need to share, populate it with some, I have a bunch of notes that I want to go through and kind of put some things down, and then we will meet and chat, and you can put things down too, we'll meet and chat about it next week, we'll develop recommendations to bring back. I mean, my sense is that we don't wanna, like, it's not, we have to do it next month, but we don't wanna like sit on it for
No, because
ages and ages.
there's 1 year in which they will update ordinances. This is the year.
Yeah.
And if they don't do it this time, yeah, it's 5 years from now. Yep.
Yeah, it's gonna take time to get it right.
So we might even want to connect with the ordinance and subcommittee, the ordinance committee of the town. And say, this, can you put this on your radar? And I'll get a temperature for
Oh,
early.
yeah, and that's something you can do. Read the,
I will do
go
that.
the context there, but.
Yeah. Cause certainly it needs to be strengthened and clarified.
It keeps coming up.
Yeah. But
But that's the thing though, it's like you have this gift with like very specific language, it's going to help.
Presence is requested in the kitchen.
kitchen.
You're like cooking right now, sorry.
I get it.
All right, so what, oh,
No, I just think that Jeremy's, he's got the skill set for it. This is gonna be something that, you know, it very clearly. I'm surprised it didn't get touched for 17 years and then suddenly now it's like only now being tested and ironed out. So, and that's the thing, it's municipality works like a snail and it's not always because someone's taking your time, it's just because it's never happened before. And so somebody like you who has that,
well, it did happen before.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. We had a public hearing about the fire
Yeah.
station.
Whatever it takes, you know. But most lots of cities don't know what's in their ordinance, like it takes.
Yeah.
So that this is all normal, in lots of cities. We
So
can-
that's it for the agenda, new business. Any other items for the good of the cause?
Well, I did wanna bring up the Kennemetal plant closure, just a general awareness, just, we gotta keep an eye on that, in my opinion.
Okay,
I have been in touch with the plant manager about preserving historic materials and getting it to one of the museums in town.
Okay.
So that's kind of in the works behind the scenes. But yeah, like
are they selling it?
I don't know. I mean, I can probably ask
Mhm.
and report back if that becomes an agenda, if we can do that as an agenda item for the next meeting.
Sure,
And might be able to get some more information.
okay, well, it's now in new biz and then.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So, like, like I said, just something like I've kind of like, since they announced it, I kind of wanted to at least have everyone like, at least keep it in our sight, so it's not like we forget about it and, you know.
fully closed.
The last day of production is April 15th, I believe.
Oh,
And then there's like miscellaneous, I think that's happening after that.
well, it's, how many jobs?
55 or 60, not what it used to be, but still, I mean, that's,
Yeah.
It's kind of the end of an era. It's like part of the reason the Wiley and Russell Dam I think would be contentious is because it's the dam that brought Greenfield into being. And it's the same thing for the Tavern Dye.
yeah, I mean, that's like kind of something very unique to Greenfield,
Are there historic, things that sell?
Yep.
Like caps and dies?
Taps, dyes, documents,
Blueprints.
old tools, blueprints, yeah, all sorts of stuff, so.
Do you think we can go there? Would it be prudent to go there and?
I don't know, I don't know, I can ask. I can ask them what their thoughts are. I
Yeah.
mean, they typically don't do plant tours.
Well, I'm thinking like the second floor, you know, all that old stuff that they store upstairs.
A lot of well, yeah, there's some historic stuff up there, there's a lot of.
To be fair, other people did more poking around than I did, so.
But yeah, so and like I said, it's something I wanted to have on the agenda.
Great.
Just bring it up, keep an eye on it, see, figure out what is happening to the building. At any rate, even if it's not, doesn't end up getting used for tool production in the future, like it still is a historic building. That, maybe depending on who buys it, might be subject to demolition delay, who knows, like, I don't know what the plan- like I said, there's just so much unknown right now.
Right.
So,
That brings up another matter, but it is 6 o'clock. I'll put it on under new business, which was. No, the historic district, the next step after we beefed up the inventory and did that survey and planning grant. The next logical step would be to establish a historic district within the town. And probably name.
Probably that, yeah, well,
Main Street.
yeah, or that area of town where because you had where Cannon Meadow is now, plant number 2. The building across the street that the hospital now owns, that was GTD, that was administrative offices and shipping. And then right there across the street on Beacon, or just up, just up the street, Beacon Street, Riddell Street, the old FE Wells plant, which was also part of GTD at one point in time. So I mean, you have like just those 3 buildings right there, never mind, who knows what other ones that, used to be there.
Well, having, anyway, so we'll put that on. the
Yeah,
business
that's, yeah.
Because it's a lot of steps and hopefully. Um. Our consultant, Athena would help us with that.
Yeah.
I mean, she and I are gonna have a meeting with the Mass Historic staff.
And who is Athena again?
She writes grants for the
She's
city.
just, okay.
She helped write our survey and planning grant. It was 20,000 of the city's money and 20,000 of Mass Historic's money, and we did it according to Mass Historic.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
But if we were to become a historic district community, we are given priority for grants.
Are we not already?
More money. In New York.
Really, even though we have historic districts within the,
Yes, those are national registered historic districts. As such, there's no teeth. It's an individual honorary recognition. We can invoke our demolition delay. But beyond that, we don't really have a design review powers.
would it be prudent to include the original GTD plans and kind of include the Deerfield Street, Washington Street area as like a strip through the center of town?
Well, I think this would be
That's
a long discussion of where the most logical first historic district would be.
Yeah, I was interested in just seeing that, like, yeah, like, it seems like, as you were saying, like, according to the ordinance, we have, like, we're not a historical commission, but our powers are really limited to the demolition delay.
We are a historical commission. We're
Right,
not a
right.
historic district.
Right, yeah, right. Well, it's like there's two, the ordinance, basically, what is the historical commission that refers back to the Massachusetts state ordinance? And there's different levels of types of commissions that can exist, and we are the level that can like create surveys and things, and not the level that someone has to come to for a certificate of appropriateness if they want to change the exterior of a building or something. So we only get that. It's not like if we have locally designated historic districts separate from the national register. And that gives us the ability to have local land use control essentially, because they don't want local, like the federally made decisions. The national register is a federal decision, so it doesn't come with land use restrictions or demolition. Yeah, that's too much information.
Yeah. So let's put it on the agenda for next month, and I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Like, in favor? Oh,
Aye.
yes, second.
All right.